This is a clouds weather alert.
Good late Thursday, early Friday meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, giving you a look at that current Doppler radar across the region. It's all quiet at this point, but as we look late Friday, Saturday morning, there gonna have to watch for some strong to severe storms around, but a bigger threat here as we get in toward next week, late Monday and into Tuesday. Especially on Tuesday, it looks like we're gonna have a severe weather outbreak here across our area. That is not out of the question. Don't use that phrase in here lightly. Don't take saying that here lightly, but we're very concerned. So just giving you a heads up here right off the top. We'll get into more details and everything here in a moment. I know we're waiting for the new SPC outlook for day one, which will extend into the overnight hour to Friday. That'll be on here in just a little bit. We'll try to get that to you. I know day two's outlook has come out, and the threat kind of shifting south as we get there toward Sunrise and later on toward areas there like Ocala, Flagler County, there southward in general. Looks to be that greater focus point there, the greater focal point here. So again, we'll be watching down there toward Orlando, Tampa. It seems like the instability values here and these two overall parameters, it would kind of be a scenario that makes more sense and that it would come together down there. But right now, again, starting off the top with the radar, it's pretty calm and quiet here at this point, but it is cool out there. Honestly, getting lower than some of the lows here that were being forecasted. But I know we're kind of heading the difference a little bit here because we're just kind of seeing here coastal areas like in St. John's and Duval County. You can see looking there right now around St. Augustine, 54 degrees, 56 degrees there into toward coastal Duval County. So it's a situation as we're looking at things where it's a lot warmer there, but 41 toward Keystone there. As we look out toward Lake City right now, you're sitting at 37 degrees. So quite chilly out there, just bundling up, no freeze alerts in quite per se. I know you don't get them as you get towards some of those South Georgia counties, southwest, south central Georgia county this time of year, but I know you're seeing readings like 35 down toward Moultrie there right now, 35 Tallahassee, 34 there in Gadsden County in the Florida Big Bend region. So just kind of giving you guys an idea of what's going on here at this point as we're looking at some of those different values. I know where I'm at, we're here in a more rural area per se. As we're looking at Camilla to be precise, they're 35, 41 actually in Moultrie, but you kind of get the idea as we're looking at things. I know where I'm at here at 34 degrees at this hour, east of Stark, a more rural area. So just kind of giving you guys an idea here well, what's going on in terms of how I know when you're away from those city lights here, that concrete things go off. You have that wind there dying down. I know it's going to really be a factor though as we look ahead into toward the timeline. As we're looking at things, but these are the current temperatures as of about 12:45 a.m. on that early Friday. But I know we're gonna have wind towards Saturday, that period there. But then Tuesday could be even more significant here in terms of some really nasty activity. That's why we have the logo red, not really Saturday's event here at all. We would be covering, of course, and we will cover as needed. But that Tuesday event is what really could be a red letter severe weather day across our region. Again, I know we're pretty far out, but we've been seeing the model so this for about 4 days, give or take. I mean, since about New Year's Day, just really honing in on this potential here. I mean, you can go back and see hints here in the model and even further, but really kind of seeing things come together. SPC introduced the rest early Tuesday, and we're really concerned here about the Tuesday, the day seven. At that point now, it would be a little bit less in the word the day schedule per se, the day timeline. So again, we're gonna keep watching things. Again, we'll get that new outlook here pretty soon from the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma as we're looking at things for day one, which will extend into the overnight. But again, the day two outlook already out for Saturday, and it's looking like the threat kind of shifting south. Kind of what I've seen in some of my own analysis here of things. Looking at the modeling, we're seeing more about Orlando, Tampa, but our southern area, let's talk to watch things, and we'll be on guard. But maybe a squall line developing that impacts our southern zones. Maybe getting some areas in the word the Big Bend still impact. I know have some coastal impacts and that rip current wrist bug there in the top right corner of the screen before we got going. Still some coastal impacts, but I know right now things that look relatively calm here as we continue to reiterate. But we'll look off toward the west here a little bit. You can see toward Texas a more active pattern there, North Texas there around the DFW Metroplex. I know you can see San Antonio, Houston there. Seeing a situation, and as we look toward next week where we have that college football playoff national championship game, I know it's inside per se there, but it's a situation where we could have some nasty weather around that time frame. So the Michigan and Washington fans really need to be careful there in that regard because it could be dangerous there in toward that region. Unfortunately, probably a bigger threat as we get further east on I-10 though, as we get further north, Louisiana, Mississippi, into the overnight hours here. As you get toward coastal Alabama and even toward our area here as well. So let's go ahead and jump on over right now toward some of our other information. Our other information here as you look, as I know this is our first update of the year 2024, but unfortunately, very concerned here. Again, we don't want to overhype this or scare you here because it still can change, but right now it hadn't changed here. We really hate starting off the new year like this, but this could be one of the more significant threats we've seen here in terms of severe weather, not a hurricane or something like that. You're going to have a really low pressure to the north, and they're going to have wintry weather, maybe toward the Midwest. The details have to still be worked out on that. And same for the other side of things. But as you can see, that risk there Monday night, going in the overnight hours toward early Tuesday before 7 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Central is what that graphic here on the left side of the screen kind of tells a story with. As I see our new outlook just came out for day one. I'll get to that here in just a little bit. But then as you see toward Tuesday here, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what we're talking about with this. You can see here toward areas there of our region, most of those impacted. I mean, really pretty much everybody. Tallahassee, Jacksonville, Gainesville. I mean, you have Brunswick, you have Waycross in here, Valdosta, Albany, Bainbridge. You gotta really be on guard on that Tuesday, folks. Again, things can change, but this El Nino pattern is what we're in, and that can promote stronger tornadic activity. And right now, that's a possibility. If not, maybe that we get a squall line here anyway. We get some really nasty winds here during and even after. And you just gotta turn those devices off. Make sure mobile homes try to have alternative shelter per se if you can for these tornadic situations. Again, Tuesday now is what we're really focused on, what we're really concerned about here, folks. You really got to pay attention. It even extends down toward Tampa and Orlando. A significant severe weather risk. Some of our worst severe weather events have happened here this time of year in an El Nino pattern. So we really got to be on guard here, folks. There'll be severe weather outbreaks, so stay tuned for further updates here as we look toward that Tuesday. Again, let's go ahead and say here those tornado safety tips. Again, stay tuned for the latest tornado devices here. Have multiple ways to receive alerts here if you're under a tornado watch, but just overall, go ahead and be prepared here. Again, this isn't a hurricane. Not everybody's going to get really severe weather, a tornado here. Per se, a lot of folks will wonder what happened. Though it could still be pretty windy around, causing some isolated scattered power outages in that regard. Have wind and rain. I have wind and rain here to a lesser extent early Saturday around as well. But again, that event on Tuesday, just make sure you're under tornado warning. I mean, the tornado's been detected using radar or spotted here. Try to avoid taking south, turn a mobile home. Get inside a sturdy building. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Protect yourself from flying debris by putting on a bicycle helmet. I know it's really important to try to be, if you can, in a site-built structure if you're in a tornado situation. Especially there's a chance here we could have some higher-end type of tornadoes. I could think of the tornadoes we had there. Again, we don't want to this far out. Hopefully things will change, but we think of what happened in 2017 here toward Southwest Georgia, toward Adel, toward Albany here, and at that time of year. So we really, I know we have time still to kind of think about where our tornado safe spot is here. So that's why we're kind of during the event. We hope we don't have to talk like this, and hopefully things will be a bust per se, meaning things didn't come together in the atmosphere as significantly as what right now looks like it will, with very low pressure to the north, wintry weather up there, and then you have an extension toward the south here with some very significant weather. Now, the lower risk, a marginal risk here, as we look here toward that late Friday, early Saturday toward the area. The newest outlook just came out here, and I do have a coastal risk here. Let's go ahead and set this to you on our other source. So I'll move away from graphics. We take the temperatures off, what we're looking at this moment, and I'll see our tornado risk here. You'll be able to see what we're talking about. So 2% of low risk here, not nearly significant as what we could see there late Monday, Tuesday across the region. So this is your late Friday slash really early Saturday nocturnal risk there. Really maybe 2, 3, 4 in the morning, something like that. Saturday could have an isolated spin up tornado here. Or, isolated, probably a weaker type of threat, but still can cause some damage to mobile homes, especially as we look here from just south of Tallahassee. So Crawfordville there is in this area. You have areas there as you're looking. You have Apalachicola as we kind of just continue to watch. I mean, you saw parts of Taylor County hit by Idalia there, parts of Dixie County, but this is not the main event. You still have to pay attention, but this is not why the logo is red here. There's your wind risk, pretty similar in no hail risk formula here. That's not the type of setup we're in with this particular event here that's forthcoming, not the one toward the weekend. But again, we have to just really pay attention toward next week. We hope things change, but the models have been really insistent upon maybe a severe weather outbreak here. So you just got to really take these tips into account. You really just have to be paying attention here, folks, as we look at things. Again, we're going to be monitoring all the different weather equipment that we have at our disposal. Looking here at the barometric pressure numbers, I know that's not going to make a big difference in the microscale level, but I mean, we're looking at them now. They're pretty high here at this point. 1,022 millibars, and during that event back in December, we had all that wind around. We had some lower pressure values. It's a different type of situation based on how things are set up here. All systems are different here. No one weather event is alike in the meteorology world. So again, just have to be really on guard here as we're looking, as we're just continuing to give you guys the very latest. I know we'll be looking at those dew point values and those air temperatures here. So just kind of continue to monitor things. As we see here, that Weather Prediction Center outlook over the next 7 days. You can see a lot of rain. Could have flood watches here possibly as you look toward Tallahassee. We got rid of those river flood warnings for now, but you're seeing some areas here. You see that darker orange, and you kind of see that yellowish color. Well, talking about maybe 5 inches on average there towards some of those big bend areas around Apalachicola. Maybe getting close to Crawfordville. You have 4 inches toward Tallahassee. Students coming back to class next week there in many areas. And you can see as you're looking there, that red 3 inches on average, the dark red 2.5 inches on average, that purple closer to 2 inches on average here as you get towards some more southeastern counties. So again, we're just going to keep watching it. The interactive radar available, cloudweather.com/radar. But I know the rain will be a story, but it could be something more significant in terms of those storms, robust storms. We got to watch out for supercells. If those get going, then this environment really, I mean, the wind shear is just really toward the higher levels that you ever see here toward our region. Well, this is a Tallahassee. I know very concerned here. They've been talking about it for a couple of days here, really, and they're discussing about how concerned they are. I mean, they're using exclamation points here already this far out, which kind of tells a story. They're pretty conservative generally in their wording. So, again, don't want to scare you. Just want to prepare you here at this point. Hopefully things break up here. We don't get the threat like what we're currently expecting, but we're going to be on top of things here in the Weather Center Live, Facebook, KC Cloud WX, Facebook Cloud Weather, Twitter/X there at Cloud KC, YouTube at Cloud Weather, and you have Cloud Weather platform there on Twitch. You have cloudweather.com as well. So the new year, unfortunately, coming in, Roy, with unfortunate weather conditions potentially for some of us. Not everybody's going to get it that bad. It's in a hurricane situation. Even then, we don't see everybody really get that bad as we've seen. It just kind of, you have more isolated here regions and swaths. Here it could be swaths, but instead maybe from south to north, southwest to northeast, you have stuff a little bit more kind of left to right here with tornado swaths, tornado paths per se. So could have like 3 or 4, maybe, I mean, not a whole bunch, maybe. You could have quite a few, but I know I just think of what happened. Some of our bigger events here in the past. You just got to stay prepared. We're always on. We've been on for the last 4 years with live coverage of every tornado warning storm move through our 62 counties. We'll be here during this event here, the first event, of course, which we could have a couple isolated warnings. But then the main event here, as we look toward next week, again, we hope things change up in the models to a lesser threat. But right now, I would not be surprised if we get a risk here that we haven't seen from the Storm Prediction Center in a while across our region. We could be talking about a situation we have like a moderate risk or something, a 4 to 5 severe weather risk, something in that realm here is a possibility with this type of dynamic setup here. And we're going to winter weather to the north. We have wintry weather north of a low that's going to be closer technically as we look toward the weekend. But that setup's not as favorable for severe weather here locally. Again, maybe southern areas as we talked about here, the greatest focus. I mean, you're kind of talking here on map even. I mean, out toward the west, but then it kind of trails off a little and south of that little line that I kind of drew my hand there is where generally the greater threat would be. So again, on Tuesday, it could be a different story here. Tuesday, as we're looking ahead, that is the 9th here of the month. So we're on the 5th right now after midnight, about 1 in the morning when we're doing this update here. If you happen to be watching live or if you're watching later on, it's about 1 in the morning here on the 5th. We're talking about a little bit of threat Saturday. We have your ways to get alerts. Saturday the 6th there, but then Sunday the 7th. I know if you're watching an NFL game, the Jaguars and play up in Nashville, or the Buccaneers playing as well, both trying to get in the playoffs. And then the 8th is Monday there, and then you're talking about a situation here where we'll start to have a threat to come into playoff toward the west. We have front here kind of looking toward the north, it would seem here in toward this pattern, but really being a more favorable sector here of severe weather concern on the 9th here. So be on guard. Again, mobile homes, we prefer you to find a site-built structure here if you're under a tornado watch. That's be thinking about where to go here on the 9th here. We could have some vicious storms coming on through. Hopefully it breaks down the threat, but I will keep you guys advised. Let's go ahead and get to a lighter topic right now. I know, at least in some ways, I mean, it's a lot lighter, but I mean, otherwise, of course, there's some different storylines involving this. But again, you can see here, looking there at the college football top 7, you can see is what I have right now. Michigan 1, Washington 2, Georgia there, that big win in the Orange Bowl against Florida State. But my Seminoles there, they didn't have many of the starters or most of the production there on offense and defense wasn't there, so it's hard to really dock them too much. I had them at 3 before moving Georgia ahead there, thinking that they would be a team that might barely win if Florida State had all their players there minus Travis in a playoff game, but it'd be a close battle. But you see Texas dropping out, Oregon there, I think. I mean, their 2 losses were to Washington. I mean, I might even move Oregon up a spot here if Washington wins the title. Washington moved to 1. And Alabama Crimson Tide really struggling on offense there in that Rose Bowl. I mean, they got lucky. Michigan didn't play that much better, and there's a decent chance Washington wins that game against Michigan next week in Houston that we're talking about. And if Washington wins there, I'll move them to 1. The loser of that game either way probably goes to 3. Georgia moves to 2 here, and then if the winner of that game is Washington, I might move Oregon to 5 again, as we were alluding to. But we have much more serious stuff to talk about here. We kind of have to put college football to the side here for the rest of the season at this point because we really have a serious red letter severe weather event on the horizon here late Monday into Tuesday. So again, we just have to be on guard here as we're looking at things. An alert here for late Monday and Tuesday. A severe weather outbreak is possible across our area and pretty much all of our area with that potential. Again, I know there was a high risk day back in 2017, and hopefully we don't get things to come together like that day, but there are some indications here that we really have to pay attention. I know that was such a terrible day there. There's nocturnal tornadoes there in South Florida. We had a deadly one there, and ADL that stands out. The mobile homes were not safe places to be there from those 140 mile an hour type of winds, 150 mile an hour type of winds around Albany later that afternoon. So mobile homes were, I mean, that's where you have your most fatalities happening in these situations. Here. So we just have to be on guard. This type of situation, you just have to be paying attention and really those sectors here where you want to be that are more site built because you're talking about things here, mobile homes, that wind can get underneath them. and even if they don't, it's still they're just going to rip apart in these type of winds here. So I'm really concerned as we look here. Doesn't mean it'll set up there in South Georgia either. This threat could set up in North Florida. It could set up in Central Florida. It could set up more off toward the west in the Florida Panhandle. So again, we really have to pay attention. We do not have things nailed down, and we hope things kind of back off in the modeling. But this is a very, very classic high-end severe weather threat for our area. So we just want to, I know it's that far out. We generally don't like to make these declarations, but it's a situation we really have to be on guard for. Again, a significant severe weather outbreaks possible here. So again, it may not be something that hits your back, or maybe Stark is okay, but it could be something that hits Arizona, Tallahassee real hard. We have 62 counties, and there's a decent chance somebody's going to have some very severe damage here, somewhere within our 62 counties after that Tuesday event. So we just have to really make sure we talk about it here as most carefully, and most really in terms of just using our phrasing here with the higher level type of phrasing here in terms of that higher level of concern. So you can see strong to severe Friday night into Saturday, there's marginal risk. We've had plenty of those around before. Still got to be careful. We've had tornadoes before, as we know here in Stark during marginal risk days. Going back 2020, 2021 there, we had a lower risk and had a tornado went on under a risk still here in Stark. Now, the latest outlook, that's been shifted to the south some for that Saturday event. So that's some good news here. But as we look there toward the Tuesday event, already under a 2 out of 5 risk, that far out, and a decent chance we get to a 3 out of 5, maybe even a 4 out of 5 here before it's all said and done. So just stay on guard. I know we might be kind of really talking here with the strong wording, but we just have so much confidence this far out of some very significant concerns. So 69 though on that Friday, 72 on that Saturday, 63 on Sunday, 65 Monday, warming up, the hottest day of the week per se. Not that hot, but this type of setup, more instabilities on Tuesday, 73 degrees for that high. So we're looking at things here very carefully. We're just going to continue to monitor the situation as it does progress here across the region. I know as we look there toward Wednesday there per se, you can kind of get an idea of what we're talking about. 58 degrees. Thursday there, 62 degrees for that high temperature. So warming up a little after we get behind that cold front here. 20% chance of rain Thursday. Maybe another system later toward that weekend type period there. But we'll just have to kind of wait on that before we get into too many details there. It could be Friday, could be the weekend. That we're really focusing on these next two events, especially the second one here. As you see those averages there, you can kind of see what we're talking about. There, 60s for the highs in terms of things with this. And you see above average Saturday and above average Tuesday. That's when the severe threat, especially Tuesday though. That's where we're really focusing our attention here. Again, we're just going to continue to monitor the impending scenario here across our region. Again, make sure you have that tornado safe spot picked out ahead of Tuesday. Maybe though it becomes more about damaging winds and a squall. And if that happens, you just have to spin up tornadoes. Well, then you're going to be in a situation where you want to still be inside and away from windows. You can still have a lot of wind damage. We've had those kind of events around here before too, 60, 70 mile an hour wind gusts. And then you have winds afterward that are still causing problems. So again, Tuesday looks very significant. I would not be surprised here based on how the models trend. It's tricky with this, very tricky. So make sure you're consulting with plenty of folks here before you make this decision. But Tuesday is a type of day here for some of our counties where school might need, or based on what the history has suggested here, school might end up being canceled here or switched to virtual, depending on the certain counties. So again, Tuesday, it's not going to be an all-day thing. Maybe still windy most, if not all the day. But Tuesday could have a day that features tornadic activity. I know don't want kids alone there though either at home, and a tornado tornadoes coming their way here, and they don't really have the tools here to be aware of it. So again, it's tricky there. So it's that type of day though where we could have a higher end type of severe threat. If it's one of those days and those counties, I know I'm talking about South Florida, Southwest, South Central Florida, we've seen it before more than anything, where they cancel school or delay school here. That's even in Tallahassee here to some degree. I know FSU's done in the past here for events. Tuesday could be one of those type of days here. That's how concerned we are this far out. So hopefully things shift around. Hopefully I'm proven wrong and that this is not as bad as what our models are currently forecasting. But this is a very significant setup for it. It seems like it'd be hard for it not to come together, at least for some of our more western areas where this is typically more favorable. We'll get this type of weather, but even our eastern areas, we have instability possibly coming into play. That could be problematic. So again, it is a school day, a work day for most folks here. So again, Tuesday, again, that could be a day where we don't have that very often around here. It doesn't really happen every year, but I know the South Georgia County, Southwest, South Central, I've seen in the past where they postpone or delay start. Now, this might not be a day we could delay start, though, based on the timing of this. It's still kind of up in the air a little bit, but you might just have a situation where folks will have to be extra careful. But then again, what do those kids do? What do those children do at home? They're all alone and need to be ready to get that trainer safe spot here if it comes down to that. And I mean, you have child care potential responsibilities in play depending on the ultimate situation there as well. So again, just a significant severe outbreak is possible here as we look toward Tuesday. So again, that temperature here with these type of wind dynamics here per se, we just have to really pay attention. So let's see if there's any questions or comments before we wrap it up. Let's go ahead and see here. Let me see if there's anything here before we say good night. Or if you're watching in the morning, I know maybe good morning, good afternoon, whenever you're watching. Here on the replay potentially on the different platforms here that we have of cloud weathers. We're in alert mode here, obviously, because of what is to come. So what potentially is to come here. I don't see anything right off, but again, be very aware of what could happen on Tuesday. Again, let's just go ahead and keep watching things here in the Weather Center. I know we're just gonna keep on looking at things. We're always watching our 62 counties here, folks. We're always watching our 62 counties here very carefully as these situations do transpire. So again, we'll just continue to keep you guys up to date here. I know it's about Tuesday that El Nino set up here this time of year promotions. We're going to get out of it eventually. Maybe not a good thing because La Nina would promote more hurricane activity again. We had one no-hitter area, really the worst of the season, the Atlantic Basin. So getting the worst potentially both sides of the coin here, potentially. So let's just go ahead and come back over to graphics right now to wrap things up for tonight here. Again, just looking here at what is to come as we're looking here at that Tuesday. I know we're very concerned about this threat here on that Tuesday. You just have to really be paying attention in these type of situations here as we kind of just make sure we give you guys the very latest information to protect you, your friends, and your family. You just have to really be on guard here about what could happen on that Tuesday here. There in January the 9th. We're really giving you guys the heads up on that now so you guys are prepared for what could happen here as the timeline does continue to evolve on us. So again, that's going to do it for now, I think, here in the Weather Center. Again, it's about Tuesday more than anything. You can see Monday's going to start to edge into the area. We're watching things on Monday, but again, Tuesday seems to be the focus point here. We could have some really nasty conditions around. So you just have to be making sure you're staying tuned for the latest updates. For now, have a great night. Try to have a great weekend here. That threat is marginal here late Friday into Saturday, but already up to slight, which is a level higher, which you don't generally see that far out here in terms of that type of risk. Could even get to enhanced per se, which is 30% this far out before we get to even the day 3 type of outlook. So already bigger risk for later on than what we have earlier on. But gotta watch both of them. You know, things can sneak up on you. So we'll keep you guys up to date. For now, have a great night, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in, Tristan. We're gonna get through this threat together. So keep it tuned to cloud weather in the days to come. Here again, that risk on Tuesday is very concerning. So hopefully things break up. Not everybody's gonna get it now. I mean, it's a situation you have rain. Pretty much everybody's gonna get that 95% chance on Tuesday, but you have rain and wind. But the damaging weather's not gonna hit everybody. A lot of folks will escape that, but the folks that get it could get some very nasty weather here that could be really indicative of severe damage. You see Tampa, Orlando in that there. You see Ocala. I mean, the villages there in between. We think about what happened there in the overnight back in 2007. So these type of patterns really give folks concern here, and not all events are the same. None of the events that we have are ever going to be exactly the same. So again, you see South Florida covered. Think of what happened in Pembroke there around Savannah, that EF4 tornado going back in the timeline. So you just have to be really cognizant of this. That's outside of the area, just like Tampa and Orlando are too. But I'll be watching things get up higher end type of threats here, where we have PDF type of tornado warnings here for those larger tornadoes. Not out of the question. With this amount of wind shear and enough of the energy coming together, stay tuned for the latest. We thank you so much again for tuning in, trusting me. Have a great night. We'll be back here as needed with the latest updates. Probably no formal update on late Tuesday because we're going to be focusing here on the cover during day Tuesday. That could change, of course, as the situation warrants. Maybe we'll get lucky enough to be on near as long or really very much at all on Tuesday. But I kind of doubt that. I think we're going for hours and hours, with coverage on Tuesday to keep everybody safe. And might be a lot more random. May not even have to do coverage like Friday, Saturday morning there. But if we do, we'll be on top of that as well on the different platforms: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Clouds Weather.